I do feel like the pay gap would be something that, we could just take a donation around the NBA maybe one night y'all don't go to the casinos.
I have something on this, though, because it pisses me off.
The WNBA has been around since the late 90s, and it seems like the only time they're relevant is when a player gets thrown into a Russian prison or the women are demanding a raise. As someone who's been a fan of the NBA since I was 8 years old, I've never really cared or noticed the WNBA, and I know many of you watching can relate. In high school, my friends would always poke fun at how bad the WNBA was, and at the time, I didn't know anything about them since it was never on TV. But I'll never forget the first time I was exposed to the league. ESPN was doing an interview with a WNBA player. Her name's Brittney Griner. You may know her as the
one who's trapped in Russia right now. I forget her name. Do you know what I'm talking about?
That's right, yeah.
And we'll talk more about her later. Now, Griner is 6'10", and the interviewer asks her to throw down a dunk because it would be pretty cool to see a woman dunk on a 10-foot hoop. She goes up and misses her first attempt. At that point, I'm thinking, okay, everyone gets one. Before trying her second attempt, she makes sure to tie her laces, and after that dramatic build-up, she proceeds to miss again. Now in that moment, I'm thinking this has to be a skit, but nope, it's 100% real. Now don't get it twisted, she'd probably cook me one-on-one, there's no doubt about that, but really, this is what the best women's basketball league in America has to offer? If you Google WNBA dunks, you'll find a 2-minute compilation of every dunk that's occurred in the last 26 years. And spoiler alert, there's been less than 30, and only 8 players have been able to do it. If you Google WNBA highlights, the top search results are 10 minutes of WNBA fails. But you know what? Anyone can stitch a bunch of lowlights together and make something look bad. However, what truly convinced me that the WNBA is as bad as everyone says it is was this video that went viral this past summer. So just to give you some context, some WNBA team won a chip and decided to throw a parade expecting their fans to show up. And nobody showed. Not a single soul. Despite the fact nobody cares about the league, the players aren't better or even as good as the NBA, the women of the league keep coming up with more arguments why they should be paid better. So in this video, we are going to analyze and dismantle 3 of the best arguments that WNBA players have come up with on why they deserve to be paid more. So first and foremost, let's address the elephant in the room. Why is there a wage gap? Statistically speaking, between the two leagues, there is a major difference in fan attendance and viewership. The WNBA had 379,000 people tune in to watch during the 21-22 season. Compared to the NBA had 1.75 million viewers that same season across the same networks. More viewers equals more commercials, which equals more money. Last year, the WNBA generated $60 million in revenue, whereas their counterpart generated $10 billion through the same means of sales. Finally, there's also a difference in games played. Each team in the WNBA plays just 32 games a season plus playoffs, and in the NBA, teams play 82 games plus the playoffs. Less games equals less screen time equals less commercials, and less commercials equals less money. The more money the league generates, the more money it has to distribute among its players. That's why there's a wage gap. Despite people's assumption that the reason for the WNBA's lack of success is due to sexism, it couldn't be further from the truth. The WNBA is subsidized by the NBA because women wanted their own basketball league. And what happened? Barely any women show up to the games, and you know what's even more ironic? More men watch the WNBA than women.
I'm particularly frustrated that we've been unable to get young women, girls, to attend those games. It's interesting, women's basketball is largely supported, just in terms of demographics, by older men, for whatever reason, who like fundamental basketball.
Speaking of like the connotations of the WNBA, like, and the big conversation about WNBA salaries and all of that that's been going on, what is like from a player and from players in general, like your teammates, what is that opinion and how do you guys handle all those conversations?
We are not asking to get paid what the men get paid. We're asking to get paid the same percentage of revenue shared.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Got it. So that's a huge misconception.
That's a huge misconception.
Got it. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, because every video is like, oh, this person gets paid this person gets paid that, right?
So I want to be really clear about that. Like, I don't think I should get paid the same as LeBron.
Right.
But the percentage of revenue, like, for example, they sell my jersey in Mandalay Bay, I don't get a dime.
You don't get any money from jersey sales?
That's crazy.
No way.
So that's
What?
Why it's like
Image and likeness.
Okay,
Exactly.
yeah, okay, that's That's
so like
bullshit.
that's the stuff we're talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Now, on the surface, that makes sense completely. So why doesn't the WNBA do that? Why should the men get paid more than the women? Is there misogyny and sexism going on in the organization? Well, the honest and simple answer is the WNBA can't afford to share revenue with its players. Remember how a moment ago I was just telling you how the WNBA generates just $60 million in revenue a year? Well, what I didn't tell you is on top of that, they lose $10 to $12 million a year, and that loss is covered by the NBA. What I also didn't tell you is that the WNBA has yet to turn a profit in the last 26 years they've been active. So if you're a business owner and you're losing money every single year and your employees are coming to you demanding for a raise, how do you expect to meet their demands? You literally can't. If you do, you'll need to cut spending, and for WNBA players, that likely means they'll have to pay for their own transportation to games and probably pay for their own trainers and recovery specialists, among many other expenses.
I've talked about this for so many years that it frustrates me so much because the WNBA as a subsidiary of the NBA, and we see how much money is generated by that league. How do you guys feel about that when you see the astronomical numbers that the NBA players make versus the pay grade that happens in the WNBA?
A lot of women play 2 seasons, going over season or off season, playing and then playing in the WNBA as well. So you could argue that we have a longer season and put in, equal work.
Now we'll dissect this argument into 2 separate parts. The first is the argument about having to get a second job.
WNBA star Brittney Griner convicted today on drug charges in Russia. A judge sentencing her to 9 years in a penal colony. Griner, detained in Russia for more than 5 months, found guilty of intentionally smuggling vape cartridges of hashish oil into the country.
Generally speaking, Russia isn't on anyone's top vacation destinations, especially right now with the war that's happening. However, the reason Griner was in the country was for the exact reason Diggins had just mentioned. People were saying that if the WNBA had just paid their players better, Griner wouldn't have had to go to Russia. So how little does the WNBA actually pay its players? Well, you may be surprised. The average contract for a WNBA player is $100,000 a year. And Brittney isn't even one of the poorest ones. She's one of the highest paid players in the league and is guaranteed to make $227,000 in 2023. These players are out here pretending they're making minimum wage, but in reality they're making just as much money as some doctors, nurses, lawyers, engineers, and programmers to play 32 games a year in front of a whopping 1,500 fans inside of an 18,000-seat arena for a league that's losing money. When you're making 6 figures at your job, getting a second one is essentially a choice. If anything, the league needs a second job since it's been losing money for the last 26 years. Now, to address her second point, which was they do just as much work as men, no you don't. Do you have to guard Giannis? Do you have to guard Joel Embiid? No, so you don't do the same work as a man. This isn't the first time a WNBA player has said something utterly delusional. A few years back, Griner said she could beat Boogie Cousins in a one-on-one.
I'm glad she's that confident in her abilities. But she's also a little delusional. Like the confidence, BG, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. It's not a walk in the park over here. I got cuss on that one.
Not one NBA player believes she could beat DeMarcus one-on-one. But maybe that's because they've never seen her play. So whoever's filming decides to ask her coach what he thinks.
If there's no referee, I'm gonna go to the ATM and I'm gonna sell my house and I'm gonna put all my money on DeMarcus Cousins.
Even her own coach knows she doesn't stand a chance. A problem I frequently keep seeing with the WNBA is their lack of open-mindedness on solutions for how they can drive revenue for their organization. In these next clips, watch how the players react when Shaq and T-Mac suggest that the WNBA should lower the rim so the fans can see more dunks.
I got a question. Why can't we lower the goal to at least 9.5 feet? Because I think for somebody that don't watch WNBA basketball, to have women dunking on other women would definitely bring more excitement to that game and have, those guys that don't watch WNBA basketball tune in and you get more fans that way. What do you think about that?
I mean, my thought on it is, I've been playing basketball on a 10-foot hoop my whole life. So to move it to 9.5, it's going to take a long time to get used to that. And then also, we're only playing basketball to dunk? I'm not sure.
No, you playing to...
you just want to see me dunk on somebody? I don't know.
The skill level is off the charts in women's basketball.
Right.
But I think as far as bringing the entertainment...
Yeah, I understand that for sure.
That element, I think, you gain more fans.
They close off and respond with defensiveness. Keep in mind, only 30 dunks have happened in the last 26 years.
10 years ago, the WNBA game was here. NBA game is here. Now it's here. I have a way to make it equal. Just listen to me now. You ready?
All right.
We've heard it.
Yeah, we've.
So in beach volleyball, the women's net is maybe half an inch lower. You think if we just lower the rim so y'all could dunk like we dunk, that'll give y'all more oomph than you already have?
No.
I mean, because listen, y'all are doing the step backs, the pull back. Y'all doing everything we're doing, but I don't see a lot of people going up with two hands and, back.
Oh, it's coming. Opportunity is a.
So you don't think if we just drop it to 9, 10
Nah,
and a half?
I guarantee.
Flash?
Layla, she's into dance, but my next child will be drop step dunking. I promise.
If the WNBA isn't interested in making a better product to attract more fans, why should anyone be interested in what they have to offer?
If you love basketball, you love the WNBA.
No, that's not how it works. That's like saying because I like coffee, I should like every brand of coffee, including the shitty instant kind. You can't force people to like something they don't like. As a business, it's your responsibility to appeal to your market. Now, based on everything we've talked about in this video, the question that remains is, will the WNBA shut down? Well, recently the league raised $75 million through investors, so hopefully this money can do some good for the league. We'll just have to see. Anyways, thanks for watching, and as always, I'll talk to you in the next one.